Hi there, my name is Nigel King, Vice President for Applications Functional Architecture. We're here today to talk about security management directions, and we are also joined by the brains of the operation, Manoj Gudiivaka, who's an applications architect who works on security. There are some forward-facing statements here about future functionality. So our normal safe harbor statement applies. Nothing that you see here should be used in contract negotiation. The development, release, and timing of any functionality remains at the sole discretion of Oracle Corporation. The program agenda we're going to run through today, we're going to run through security in Fusion applications, why we think it's a very, very secure product. We're going to run through the 10 principles that we've applied in security management in Fusion applications. We're going to introduce the security console, which is new in release 9, and show you a few of those features, as well as some of the upcoming features of the security console. We will be taking any questions. So, the benefits of Fusion security. I'm going to read this slide kind of anti-clockwise, really from the 8 o'clock area. So the benefits of Fusion security is that we have driven down risk, we've driven down the administrative costs, we've raised productivity, and we've raised the usability of the application. So how have we driven down risks? So we've made sure that the application is secure out of the box. It's not a question of we give you a blank sheet, you've got to work out how to make it secure. We've given you a secure application out of the box. It's secure across tools. So although your users get access to a wide palette of tools to be able to do their jobs, not that they're really aware of the transition between tools, but they are using many different tools, the security is consistent across those tools. The security is enforced across the information lifecycle, right the way from pre-development environments round to when you've got backups. We've also built it in a manner that is segregation of duties aware. We are fortunate within Oracle to have a segregation of duties testing application. We know what a reasonable set of segregation of duties constraints is, and we have designed our roles accordingly and alerted you to the risks in that role definition. Driving out the administrative costs. So we have really automated the role provisioning activity. So we respond automatically to events within the HCM system to make sure that you have the appropriate security for the role that you've moved into. We have transparent transparent security policies. We know that job one of a security manager is to make sure that we've documented security policies. You've then got to go through the task of finding out how and if those policies are actually implemented. We make sure that we have surfaced the seed data in our application to make sure that it reads like a security policy manual. You can actually see where those policies exist and how they are applied. And it is a standards-based security model. So we followed the NIST RBAC standard to make sure that we are standards-based. How have we raised productivity? Well, it's faster onboarding. You join the company, we automatically provision you an account. Single sign-on, you log into the applications once and you get access to a broad set of applications, both Fusion applications, and also we can also work with your corporate SSO environment to make sure that you log on once and you've got access to your entire apps ecosystem if you so wish. We've also made sure that because management can assert security very efficiently because they're part of the provisioning workflows and approvals, that it is much easier for management to assert that and therefore raises management productivity as well, which also gives us easier regulatory compliance, especially with the inbuilt segregation of duties capability that we have with Fusion. Usability, how do we improve usability? It's a clean access model. We give you everything that you need and we give you nothing that you don't. We've also got a seamless transition to IDM. So where there are things beyond the real security management aspects and more towards the integration engineering aspects, that will give you a seamless integration out to the IDM set of tools. So back to our program agenda, we're going to run through the 10 principles that we've applied in Fusion applications and kind of show you how we've applied them within the applications. So just give you a quick whiz through what those principles are. Firstly, role-based access. So secondly, account and role provisioning events and workflows. 3, enforcement across all of our tools and transformations. 4, pervasive privacy protections. 5, integration with governance, risk and compliance. 6, transparent security policies. 7, complete audit of security changes. 8, secure across the entire information lifecycle. 9, coexisting with your current security infrastructure. And 10, a comprehensive and extensible reference implementation. Role-based access control. It might seem a little bit scary at first, but really it's not that different from the existing models that you've got. If you come from an e-business suite heritage or you come from a PeopleSoft heritage, the parallels are very easy to draw. We talk about roles over on the Fusion side, and we're kind of showing you what those correspond to in our heritage applications. So a job role really gives you access to a set of functions. If you're looking at the e-business suite, that's really the equivalent of a top-level menu. Also in the PeopleSoft environment, it's equivalent to a top-level menu. Over on the Fusion side, we talk about data roles, something that gives you access to a set of functions, but also for a particular set of data. That's really equivalent on the e-business suite side to a responsibility. On the PeopleSoft side, that's really the employee and their role. We break down a job role into a set of duties. Those duties are a subset of the functionality that is available for that job and may be shared amongst many jobs. Well, if you look at the e-business suite world, that really is a submenu. Over on the PeopleSoft side, that's really a role. The task in the real world, the thing that you are really giving authorization to, on the Fusion side, we follow the RBAC terminology and we call that a privilege. On the e-business suite side, that's a form function. On the PeopleSoft side, that is a permission list. The lowest end of this hierarchy on the Fusion side is a permission. It's the permission to perform an action on a resource. On the e-business suite side, that's really an executable, as well as on the PeopleSoft side. So role-based access. A role, what we've really got is a job description. So let's take like procurement manager as an example. So you could go to monster.com and you could find yourself a job description. That's kind of what our product managers have done. They've looked at the lines on that job description as a grouping of functionality, and they've mirrored those lines on the job description into groupings of functions, groupings of privileges over on the Fusion side. We call that grouping of privileges a duty. What you're seeing on the right-hand side of this screen is how that hierarchy is represented within the security console. It's really a radial layout of that hierarchy with the hub here is the job role, and the spokes that you're seeing here are the set of duties. So when an employee is inducted into your organization, we give them a role. Well, in fact, we give them more than one role. This is Jennifer. She's just joined us as a procurement manager within one of our business units. So she's actually joined in Vision Germany. So we've given her a role that is a procurement manager for Vision Germany. She's also an employee. So while that's not really a job, we kind of call that an abstract role, it comes with a set of privileges itself. So you could create a timesheet, for example, as an employee. She's also a purchase requisitioner. We've also given her the role of the purchasing manager for Vision Germany. You can see on the right-hand side how the relationship between the role of purchasing manager, a job role, and purchasing manager Vision Germany is represented within the security console. Purchasing manager has got all of the functions associated to it. You can see that in the sort of serrated edge around that node in the security console. That's giving you a hint of the density of the hierarchy at the next level. And you can see that it's inherited by procurement manager for, in this case, California. That's the role that's actually got the grants to the data. So the roles really govern what the new employee can do and view. So what you're seeing here from the security console is we've expanded one of the nodes in that role hierarchy, and we can see the buyer management duty, and we've actually right-clicked on the buyer management duty, and we've gone into the edit flow here. We can see the privileges that are part of the buyer management duty. Those privileges actually allow you to get access to the resources that are behind the screens, as it were, within Fusion applications. So you can see that you've got permission to the resources that are on the task pane, for example. This is a set of tasks within a user interface within Fusion applications. But that methodology is everywhere. When you click on the Navigator, so you're clicking on the Navigator here within our simplified user interface, every menu node is itself a resource, and we guard those resources with a privilege. So whether you're looking at the Navigator menu or whether you're looking at the set of tasks once you've gone into a given work area, they're all guarded by a set of privileges. Even once you get into a fairly dense work area, and you can see many different aspects of this work area can be guarded by different privileges. The product manager will be making a judgment as to whether or not everybody that gets access to this particular page should get access to the buttons, the regions, the action items within this page, and will guard different aspects of it according to whether or not they think all users should get access. Account and role provisioning events and workflows. This means that your security management staff can actually get on with actually designing good security policies, because they haven't got to go through the security administration that they used to have to go through prior to Fusion applications. It's like prior to Fusion applications, you'd be faced with a spreadsheet that's got users and you've got menus and functions, and you're trying to work out what users should get access to what functions. What you've got with Fusion is workflows that get kicked off when events happen within the HCM system. So for example, this is Jennifer. Jennifer, again, has just joined us as a procurement manager. You'll see that there is a workflow that gets kicked off when she joins us as a procurement manager, and that workflow, at the end of it, provisions her roles that give her access to some entries within the Navigator menu. But you know what? We've got great recruiting capability within Fusion, such good recruiting capability that we found a great person in Jennifer, and she's been promoted very quickly. That promotion is another event within the HCM system that is kicking off a workflow that is granting her other roles that will mean that she will get greater access to Fusion applications as her dominion increases. But it looks like other companies have also seen the value of this employee that we have hired, and unfortunately she's gone off to greener pastures. But there is also another workflow that is kicked off as we deprovision those roles to make sure that she now no longer has access to Fusion applications. So next, I wonder if I could ask Manoj to come and talk to us a little bit about enforcement across tools and transformations.
So Nigel just explained to you how a role-based access will control various navigation for the UI, for the user, based on the roles he's granted to. But as the user is navigating across Fusion applications, he is actually navigating through various tools that present the data for their tasks. So in this example, you're seeing the navigation on the left, which is the Navigator menu, and then there is a navigation on tabs. So when your user clicks on the tabs, they see the data in BI dashboards, which is managed by the BI tool. When they click on a Navigator entry, in this case, they are taken to the content management to manage the content. And some other navigation entry can take them to an ADF UI. You define security once. So for example, if you define securities that your user can access invoices for a certain BU, you make the definition once, and we ensure that the user sees the same invoices in BI dashboards, in content management, and as well as their ADF UIs. In Fusion applications, we implemented pervasive protections for your privacy data. So any personally identifiable information, PII in short, and is a piece of information that can be potentially used to uniquely identify a contact or locate a single person. The examples are your social security number, your driver's license, and passport. In Fusion applications, we ensured that all these PII attributes are identified, and they are secured not only by your UI access, but also by any other means your users may end up getting access. For example, so you can define a tax identifier is considered a PII attribute for your supplier, right? So a supplier manager can maintain a supplier's tax identifier for the business units in which they are authorized. So this is a business rule and you define it once. Now this rule is implemented consistently across all the UIs where the supplier manager can administer the tax identifier. Now a user will get access to the UIs based on the role they are granted, and they can go and administer the tax identifier for their suppliers. Now if the user somehow bypasses the UI security and gets access to the database directly, the same security policy you defined earlier is also implemented at a database layer by a technology called virtual private database. It is the same policy which is implemented now at the database layer, and the access to the user is denied if he goes via any non-standard method. So next, Nigel, could you please explain how our integration with GRC makes the data more secure?
Integration with governance, risk, and compliance. So we have integrated with our access controls governor tool, which gives us a set of segregation of duties policies. So firstly, we've made sure that the duties that we have designed for Fusion applications are in and of themselves free of segregation of duties violations. However, we've made sure that we design our roles as we see them in the marketplace. So if there are any inherent segregation of duties risks, we've made sure that we publish those in our security reference manuals. We also make sure that we respect them in the provisioning process. So we have preventative provisioning. If for example, Jennifer is being provisioned a role, we are checking for toxic combinations of privileges. And if we are about to provision a new role that would mean that there is a toxic combination of privileges that would be assigned, we actually allow you to decide what you are going to do. Maybe you'd like to prevent that from happening. Maybe you're going to absorb the risk. But whatever you do, if you do actually provision that role, we make sure that it is reported within the governance, risk, and compliance application, so you can keep track of those incidents. Next, transparent security policies. Again, job one of the security management function is to make sure that we've got security policies that we understand. Now, within the security console, we've made sure that the seed data that you see within the security console is in readable English that actually gives you an understanding of what the data security policies are, what the function security policies are. We've made sure that it is a readable English phrase. So what you're looking at here is the fact that someone that has project administrator duty can actually assign resources on the projects for which they actually administer. So this is just a readable English phrase. Next, a complete audit of security changes. Within Fusion applications, we have audit capability for many different aspects of the application's footprint. One of those aspects, of course, is the security infrastructure. So you can audit things like changes to the definition of a role, or the roles that have been assigned to a user, or you can find out if there are any privileged users that have logged on a great deal. You can see whether or not there is a particularly sensitive privilege that has been used a great deal, such as voiding a check. Now you can see, just within the security console itself, users and the roles that are assigned to those users. So here we can see that this user has two roles. But if you wanted to see, so how did that role definition change over time? How did that user's role change over time? You can look at the audit infrastructure and you can see the role addition changes and the role deletion changes all written to an audit log. So, secure across the information lifecycle. Manoj, I wonder if I could ask you to explain how we ensure that we've got security enforced across the information lifecycle.
Earlier, I explained how we secure your data across the various tools, and also how we made sure that your personally identifiable information is secured on a live application from UIs as well as database. But we did not stop there. We recognize the data has to be secured across the complete life cycle. So we also ensure that your sensitive data is secure in your file systems and your backups, which is essentially your data at rest using transparent data encryption. Your production environments can be cloned into test environments. So when your data is cloned into your test environments, we ensure that all your sensitive data is now masked using Oracle data masking. And your administrators need privileged access to manage the data, but we also have to ensure that they do not get access to the sensitive information they are managing. So we ensure that all your sensitive information is protected using Oracle Database Vault. Let me illustrate that. Starting at clockwise from the top, the Database Vault will ensure that the administrators can administer the data and the tables, but not actually look at the content of the data, right? And then in your cloned instances, your sensitive information is actually masked. So the masked values are readable values, but they don't represent what your sensitive data is. Whereas on the bottom of the screen, you can see an example of encryption, where when your data is at rest, it is totally encrypted and in unreadable format. So we ensure that all your sensitive data is secured across the life cycle of the data. Next, I will explain how Fusion applications coexist with your current security infrastructure. So you can choose to have Fusion applications, and you can choose to outsource the authorization to the authentication to your existing identity management structure, and Fusion applications will honor that an authentication. And finally, we back everything by a comprehensive reference implementation, so that you do not have to implement anything from scratch. Fusion applications come out of the box completely secure, out of the box with the job roles which you can recognize as the job roles you would use in your organization. So you can see a complete list of job roles. You can see a hierarchy of duties that would represent the functions of the job roles. We have seeded data security policies, seeded SOD policies, and we have seeded provisioning events. So you can start with these seeded events and modify them to suit your business needs. You never have to start from the scratch. So, but you can, at the same time, you can extend. So here is an example how easy it is to extend the seeded reference implementation. Let's take an example. So what if you want to expand what reports the channel directors can see? Out of the box, channel director comes with very few reports, but you want to now expand the list of reports they can see. Well, when you examine our security reference implementation, you will find that there is a duty role called Sales Transaction Analysis Duty, which has far more reports that will be useful for your channel director. All you do is identify the duty role and grant it to your channel director. Now your channel director has access to all the reports you need. So here is an illustration how you would do that easily using the security console. You pull up the channel director role, and right on the role you see an edit capability. Once you edit the role, you just add the duty role you identified to that channel manager role. Here is another example. So here is like more data, right? More business groups have their sales rep doing forecasting, but in my company, we only have sales managers who do forecasting, not sales rep. So how do I ensure that the sales rep will not be able to do forecasting in my organization? Well, again, it's as simple as pulling up the sales representative job role. You will identify that there is a sales forecasting duty which gives access for forecasting. All you do is revoke the duty from your job role, and your sales representative is now as per your requirement. Again, here is an example how you do in the security console is identifying the role under the sales representative and just revoking it. You may have more finer requirements where, well, if it's an opportunity, I want my sales steps to do only read only the opportunity but not edit them. Well, you take the seeded opportunity management duty, which would probably give you complete managing capabilities. You make a copy of that role and just remove the privileges that give ability to manage and just leave the privileges that give you ability to just read the opportunity. So again, here's an example. You identify the role, you have copy capability right on the role. So you copy the role into a new role and name it as read only. And all you do is remove the privileges you don't need and your new role is ready. So all through the presentation, you saw glimpses of how Security Console will make your security administration very easy and intuitive. I would now request Nigel to give a full demo of our Security Console.
So introducing Fusion Applications Security Console. So within Release 9, we've actually introduced an Application Security Console. This is really a work area that's servicing security managers and security administrators. We've tried to solve the problems in their lives. So what we're going to do here is run through the challenges in security administration, just in general. We'll run through a couple of problems that are for customers as they adopt Fusion applications. So at the start of the journey, shaping security to match their business is probably the biggest issue that they've got within the security world. If they've been running with Fusion applications for a while, staying ahead of changes as new releases come down the pipe, it becomes the most urgent need from them. We'll then run through a demo and give you some idea of what's upcoming in the near future for the Security Console. So challenges in security administration. So this is just challenges in general for people whose job it is to administer security. Like generally there's one tool if you're lucky for role design, there's another tool for user provisioning, there's another tool for data security management, there might be a tool for supporting end user authorization issues, there might be a tool for trying to address upgrade issues. You have no global view. So what we tried to do with the Security Console was to come up with a single UI for all security activities, within which you could visualize the entire security model with assisted search across all of the different security artifacts. So it's a single entry point. We've built it in the simplified user interface. If you have the appropriate privilege, if you are a security manager, you will see this icon on your Springboard page. You click on that icon and you get taken to a search capability. That search capability is a unified search capability across all types of security artifacts. It also has a faceted search capability. So while it will find all different types of security artifacts, you can refine your search using the faceted search capability. It will then visualize the entire security model. So we use different icons in different colors to show different artifact types. So privileges are one color, roles are another color, users are another color, etc. As we get more real estate within the visualizer, then we give you more information about the artifact that you're on. So, like I say, the first problem that the customers face when they are ramping up, when they are actually taking on Fusion applications is we delivered them a reference implementation and they need to shape that to match the exact fit and finish of their business. So what they really like to do is to leverage the Fusion Application Security Reference Model to customize those roles and really see what the menu would look like for people that have those roles. They'd like to be able to actually see what the on-screen elements are that match those privileges, adjust the reference roles and test the resulting user interface. So for the first time, we have role copy capability. This is a capability within the Release 9 Security Console. So you can locate the role that you're interested in copying. You can right-click on that role. It exposes a right-click menu. And one of those options is to copy the role. It basically takes you into the edit flow. So you make it the same as the role that you copied, except for any changes you want to make as you move through that flow. Once you've made changes, we also have a menu simulator. So you can really see What is the behavior of this role once you have created it? Again, on that right-click menu, you can actually see for a role or for a user how the menu will actually be represented. And we code in those that you've got access to and those that you do not have access to. So you can still see menu nodes that you do not have access to and discover why. Next, as more mature customers that have been with the Fusion applications for some time, their challenges are slightly different. They really want to stay ahead of changes that are happening within Fusion applications. So they want to find disruptive new functionality. They want to fit that new functionality to their existing model. They need to identify those users that need to be retrained. They'd like to perform a security assessment to know whether or not that is functionality that they wish to absorb into those roles. So what we have to facilitate that capability within Release 9 in the Security Console is a role comparison capability. Again, on that right-click menu, I can locate a role and I can compare a role from the primary to a secondary role to see what is different between those two roles. I can actually find things that are only in the first role, find things that are only in the second role, find things that are common. I can search across function security, across data security, across the role in inheritance hierarchy, just to see what has changed in a given release. And now that I've found that, there is some new functionality that's come in this next release, I need to find the set of users that I need to retrain. So you can not only read down the hierarchy from a role down through the role hierarchy down to privileges, but you can also read up the hierarchy. So you can read up from a role to the roles of which it is a member up to the users that are also members of that role. So we can find those users that need to be retrained, again, from within the Security Console. So with that, I'm going to give you a quick little demo of a couple of vignettes that we've got of the Security Console. The first vignette is going to be assessing the product upgrade impact. I'm going to use that unified search capability. I'm going to compare roles, and then I'm going to use the security model visualization to actually find out who I need to retrain. So I've just logged on to Fusion Applications. I've logged in as an IT security manager. And as an IT security manager, I will see the Security Console as one of my icons that is on my springboard here. So I'm going to click on the Security Console. Now the Security Console will open in search for me. So I could search for anything from here. If I search for the word account, for example, and I find my search results, I can see that I have many results returned to me. I've got 166 results returned to me. I could refine my search if I wish. I can see the number of job roles that I have, the number of data roles, duty roles, etc. I can refine my search to make sure that I home in on exactly what I'm looking for. For example, here, if I was to home in on job roles, I would see that my search results were down to 21. So this is just utilizing the search capability from within the Security Console. Let me close out my refined search for a second. We were going to actually look at an upgrade impact. So we're actually trying to find a Release 9 benefits specialist. So I'm going to search for Release 9 benefits specialist. I can see that I've only got one job role here. Let me use my refined search capability to find just that one job. Now you can see that on finding that one job, I actually have used the visualizer here. So the visualizer on my mouse wheel here, I can expand and collapse using the mouse wheel. I can expand and pan and zoom. Even if I wanted to keep the same geometry but move over my magnifying glass, I can see things under the magnifying glass. If I can also expand and collapse various nodes here. So maybe I want to expand this node and see that I've got a privilege. Maybe if I expand another node, it will actually move my geometry somewhat, and I wish to fit the entire geometry to screen. Again, I can move my magnifying glass out to expand a given area. I could, if I so wished, actually remove the search results so that I maximize my space here within the visualizer. Let me just collapse down this particular node and collapse down this particular node. So here we are, we're actually on the release 9 benefits specialist. And I can see here that I've got a right-click menu. So I can compare roles. So here I'm going to compare roles. I can see that I'm looking at the release 9 benefits specialist. I'm going to compare that against the role that was already in my environment, which happens to be called benefits specialist. So I'm going to select that guy. Now I could show everything, like all privileges. I could show things that are only in the first role or things that are only in the second role. I'm going to look for things that are only in the second role, so things that have just come into, that are only in the second role here. And I'm going to say, well, rather than looking at function security policies and data security policies, I'm going to look for just the inherited roles. So this is a way of making sure that my search results are so that I can home in on what my search results are. So here I've found things that are only in the second role and are inherited roles that are only in the second role. In this example, I found the beneficiary organization management duty is only in benefits specialist. So now that I found that, I now find that there may be a user population that I need to retrain. So I'm going to go back to finding I'm going to go back to my visualizer. I'm going to open up my search results for a second. I'm going to find a benefits specialist. So now that I've found a benefits specialist, I actually want to look at this hierarchy, looking up the tree, as it were. I'm looking up towards users that inherit this role. So rather than expanding the path towards privileges, I can expand the path towards users. So this is me expanding the path towards users, and I can see the roles that inherit benefits specialist. I can right-click on benefits specialist, and now I can expand right the way out to see the entire user population that needs to be retrained. I can see that I've got one user population that has benefits specialist view all. I can see another user population that has benefits specialist secure too. I'm going to fit back to the screen here. I can again move my magnifying glass out to see the individual users that will need to be retrained. So that's it for Vignette 1. That showed me everything to compare between roles, to find an impact from a given release, to find a user population that needed to be retrained. In the second scenario, I'm going to be responding to a help desk inquiry. There's going to be a user that is raising a request for help. They are convinced that they should have functionality that does not seem to be appearing within their menu. We're going to use the unified search to actually find that user. We're going to use the security model visualization to actually see what the role hierarchy is for that user. We're going to use the menu simulator to actually see how that role renders for that user. We're also going to see if we should be creating a new role that has new privileges for people with that job title. Again, I've logged into Fusion Applications. I logged in with the role of IT Security Manager, and again, I can see the security console is an icon on my springboard. I'm going to launch into the security console. In this example, I'm actually trying to find a user. So I actually have a user that is a benefits user. So let me just, I happen to have named that user with the word benefits in them. So let me refine my search, and I can see that I have 43 users here. My apologies, I'm going to have to take this from the top again. I've started with my search results closed down.
No problem. Oh yeah.
Take it from the top one more time.
Okay. And action.
And here we are for the second demo. This second vignette is all to do with user support, answering user questions. Again, I've logged into Fusion Applications. I've logged in as an IT security manager, and I see the security console on my springboard here. I'm going to open up the springboard. I'm actually searching for a user this time. I happen to have named the user with the name of the role. They happen to be a benefits specialist. So let's just search, get a set of results here. I can refine my search to make sure that I'm actually only finding users. So let's choose users from the refined search capability. And now I can see that I'm actually looking at a set of users here. If I click on this user, I will actually see the user and the roles that this user has access to. I can see that this user is an employee, and they're also a benefits specialist for vision operations. Now, this user has complained that they've read the manual and they think that they should get access to things beyond that they're seeing in the menu. So we're going to use this right-click menu again, and we're going to simulate the Navigator. So now the system has gone out and found all of the roles that this user has access to, and it has painted in black those items that the user does not have access to, and in blue those items that the user does have access to. We can see this user has access to person management, but does not have access, for example, to the payroll dashboard. Now, as we come down this page, remembering, of course, that the user that we're looking at is a benefits specialist, they can see that they are entitled to enrollment and they are entitled to the plan configuration, but they do not have privileges to evaluation and reporting. So we could just click on this node here and we could tell them, well, these are the roles that you could request that would give you access to that particular node on the menu. And here we can see all of the roles that get access to that node on the menu. If the user requests these roles, it will go through the appropriate approval cycle to make sure that the access is appropriate for someone with this role. It could be that I have had many calls from many people with the job title of benefits specialist, and I'm thinking that I should probably be changing the role definition. So as well as viewing the roles that grant access, I can also view privileges that are required for that menu entry. I can see for the menu entry, manage benefit maintenance batch reporting is the privilege that is actually needed here. And here are the tasks that are available to me within that work area. So I can grant access to this role to make sure that I no longer get troubled by anyone with a job title of benefits specialist. And now back to the presentation. Other feature highlights that we have in Release 9. Release 9 also comes with our first pieces of security reporting. We have an authorization audit, which shows for a user or all users, or for a role or all roles, everything they're authorized to, both in terms of function and data security. We can also see inactive users. If there are users that really should be cleaned up because they are not logging into the system, we have a report that shows you your inactive users. We also have capability to show you the most optimized role hierarchy for a role hierarchy if you've chosen to not use the reference implementation. An optimized role is one with the least number of roles, the least number of role memberships, and the least number of grants. This is what the user and role access audit report looks like. So again, you can see the entire access for a given user, for all users, or for a role or all roles. The role optimization report, what you're seeing in the upper left here is kind of the logic that the system is going through to find a cluster of privileges that are candidate roles. And it will find different clusters, and it will actually recommend a set of clusters and find those that are close to the roles that you already have. Upcoming features. So upcoming features that we have in Release 10, we have security analytics capability, we have a privilege discoverer capability, also extremely useful for supporting end user inquiries, as well as shallow or deep role copy options. In Release 9, when you copy a role, it's basically your job role with our duties. The deep role copy allows us to create your job role, and we also duplicate all of the duties to make sure that you are completely insulated from any changes that Oracle makes in the future. Analytics, this gives us an analytic environment to really drill down on the role definitions. It gives the same information as our security reference manuals, but it's now for the roles that are in your environment. The Privilege Discovery Report is a way of seeing for any given work area. What you're seeing on the left here is a work area within Fusion Applications, to be able to see what secured artifacts you are and are not authorized to within that work area, and the roles that would grant you access to those secured artifacts within the work area. Release 11, we start to expand the capability of the Security Console to include user management within the Security Console to allow you to have single sign-on administration from within the Security Console, so that you do not have to raise a service request to utilize your pre-existing single sign-on environments. We also have an Active Directory bridge, which means that you'll be able to utilize Active Directory and reflect any role changes that happen within your Active Directory environment back into Fusion applications. So this is what user management looks like. It's really managing the entire user lifecycle, including locking, password resets, etc. The AD bridge, this is synchronizing back into a Fusion environment those changes that have happened within Active Directory if you happen to be using Active Directory as your corporate LDAP. Single sign-on administration, this is just the ability to point Fusion applications at where your single sign-on location is, where your sign-out location is, and to test that the single sign-on is actually working without having to go through raising a service request with our cloud operations team. And with that, that is the sum total of our security management directions. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope that was a useful session.